Welcome to Not So Serious Magic. My name is Landon Liberator, and this is my co-host, Adam Bush. Adam Bush, how are you on this cold, wintry day in Minnesota?
It's not that cold. I'm pretty great. It's, 24 degrees out there? That's pretty warm. It's shorts weather.
I say you are wearing shorts.
I am weering shorts.
So I
love
that's,
it. I mean, it was 40 yesterday. I mean, this is great.
Yeah?
No, I'm great. It's birthday week for me. Happy birthday to me.
You're turning 25?
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
25 with his gray beard.
Oh,
it's fantastic. So happy birthday to me. If you want to give me a birthday present, go to our Patreon.
Oh, we'll link that one somewhere. All right. Well, today we're talking about our predictions for Ravnica Allegiance, talking about TitanShift, the up-and-coming and has-been modern deck, and 10 million buccarinos that is being spent on the esports of Magic the Gathering. But before all that, if we could be serious for a moment and have you follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Patreon, just for Adam's birthday, of course.
Yeah, exactly.
Or iTunes at Not So SRS Magic. That would just float our goats. If you can give us a 5-star rating on iTunes, that is very boosting to our self-esteem and our iTunes. So
my self-esteem really, especially in these cloudy Minnesota days, I need that boost.
You're helping out Adam here, guys. Come on, please.
I'm known for being depressive.
So, Adam, I want you to talk to me a little bit. Today, we're talking about these Ravnica Allegiance predictions / spoilers / cool stuff. So, just talk to me, man. I mean, we got a lot of notes here.
Yeah, it's not out till January 25th, but it's never too soon to talk about an upcoming set.
Of course not.
We had spoilers probably start at the end of the month, but we got a couple leaks recently.
Mm-hmm.
So we have Azorius, Rakdos, Gruul, Simic, and Orzhov coming in this next set. We also know from Mark Rosewater that there will be some returning mechanics, and some will be new, and we saw that in the Guilds of Convoke was the only returning one, but also we know some of these returning aren't necessarily from prior Ravnica blocks, but we're just going to talk about the prior Ravnica blocks because it's easiest, and we could probably spend 3 hours talking about every mechanic that could possibly come back.
I think for me too, like Ravnica was one of my is one of my favorite blocks. I mean, like I think for me, Innistrad definitely hits the top, and then after that, it's probably either Ravnica or Kamigawa were kind of my two faves.
Kamigawa, wow.
Yeah, I know. I liked it. I mean, I know it was kind of generally like no one loved Kamigawa, but I really enjoyed Kamigawa. I don't know.
You're one of those people. Yeah. No, we got lots of. What are you expecting? Like, I think we've seen a lot of the meta going on, and we know we have a lot of control decks, and we're getting Azorius. They're going to get a lot more tools because Azorius is known for control sort of things more than Izzet is, and
yeah, I think that like for me, I don't see control. Well, I mean, watch foot and mouth syndrome, but I don't think the control is going to be huge. I think the control in standard is a very it's a tough game to play because you have to match the speed to also having the most powerful things in the long game. So they got to Teferi. When they had Gearhulk, it was great. When they had what was the blue Gearhulk from Kaladesh?
Yeah.
Very good. I mean, now that rotated out, but those late game threats are what you need, and also you have to have counters that are not only efficient, like cancels in the format right now.
Yeah.
Cancel's bad. Like what I mean? Like it's not a good counter spell. If we're seeing more of these bad counter spells and bad early game things, I mean, I'm sure Azorius will get some nice tools out of the toolbox, but they're gonna have to be fast. They're gonna have to be efficient. They're gonna have to do really well in the standard meta. Otherwise, it's just not gonna go well. I mean, it's not gonna work out.
Oh, what do you think? Like a Sphinx's Revelation reprint, just for those who don't know, that's blue, white, X. You gain X life and draw X cards.
I mean, that would be really cool. I think that it wouldn't break the meta for sure. I mean, drawing cards and gaining life is always good.
Yeah.
There's never really a bad time to do that. And you're never like drawing this and being like, oh man, like no matter what point in the game you're at, like if you're in the early game, you're like, well, all right, cool. Like I guess I'll gain 3, draw 3.
Yep.
Seems bad. I mean, seems fine for 6. It's not bad. At instant speed, or your late game, you're like, well, I mean,
drop 10.
Yeah, exactly. I'm in a bad spot right now, and basically, I'm gonna come back. I'm gonna make this huge comeback from 2 life to now 12 life and 10 cards in hand. So, anyways, yeah, I think it would be great. I think it wouldn't break anything. I think it'd be awesome. It'd be exciting.
Yeah, and Gruul, known for big stompy monsters. Green Stompy has done. I mean, it's not number 1. It's maybe tier 2 right now.
Yep.
Make a little comeback, throw that in with Vinemare.
Well, I mean, in Arena, you mentioned in Arena, there's that Gruul deck that does really well with Charging Monster Soar and the little the mana dork that you can sack to make a 5/5 dragon. And so I mean, there is some power in Gruul. It's just that right now, like you say, it's just hitting the 2-tier behind Jeskai and Golgari.
And they'll definitely get some new tools. I mean, I've seen some of those dinosaur decks, and those can be pretty.
It's fun.
Yeah, especially the one that I saw this weekend when I played a little bit is that little guy that when a dinosaur enters, do 1 damage to each creature. Combine that with the little enrage guys, search for land, do 5 damage. Like, okay, get a couple extra tools in there. You already got the Llanowar Mystic Elves going on, ramping some stuff out.
Yeah.
What are you looking for your mono blue tempo? What's missing for that deck to really take off a little bit more?
So, look, I think that mono blue tempo really the reason it hasn't taken off is not because it's like missing things. I think it's mainly because it's just not where it needs to be. Right now the meta is big stuff. It's like control and big stuff, right? So, and that's not really what that deck does well against. That deck does well against aggro. It does well against mid range. Does really well because it's getting ahead in the early game and keeping ahead in the late game. So, but I guess to answer your question, I feel like it could always use more evasion. Evasion's always good. So if there are things that put counters on that also gives evasion, that would be super nice.
Ooh, Simic.
Right, and I think that Simic will offer a lot of options. I do think that it's a mistake to do anything but mono blue here.
Yeah.
So I think that's a very it's a very steep slope to walk. But I do think that there will be some additions that gives us that will be. I mean, evasion's good. Protection's always great because that's one of the problems. Is I have it's kind of a glass cannon strategy when I have one thing out there. So, but yeah, I think that there will be a lot of cool tools added for sure for mono blue tempo.
Now, before we really get into these mechanics, let's talk about the Storm Scale, and that is a rating scale by Mark Rosewater, the head designer, of 1 to 10, rating the likelihood a mechanic can return in Standard, and it's based on popularity, design space, versatility, development issues, and playability. Now, he has said a high rating doesn't mean this mechanic can't come back. Like, for example, Madness from the recent Innistrad blocks had a rating of 7 to 9 over the years,
right?
But it still came back. However, it came back and it kind of reaffirms my rating of this. It's going to be even more difficult to bring this back.
Right.
So, getting into the first one, let's start with the one we were leading with, is Azorius. In the original Ravnica, Forecast was the Azorius mechanic.
Yeah, and this was in Dissension, was mostly here, Ravnica Dissension.
Forecast was pay a mana cost, reveal this from your hand, and then something happens. So, example, this Pride of Clouds was a creature. Forecast, white, blue, 2, reveal this, put a 1/1 white and blue bird creature with token flying into play. Storm Scale 8. So, very not likely to return based on that. In Return to Ravnica, Detain was the mechanic, which has a Storm Scale of 3. And that was, until your next turn, target permanent can't attack or block, and its activated abilities can't be activated. Now, my prediction is Forecast is not going to return. That is just...
Yeah, it's like Imprint. You know, Imprint was kind of that thing they did, and they were like, oh, that's kind of cool. And it happened a couple times, and they're like, nah, it's fine. You know, we'll leave it in the dust.
No, I think there's a very good chance Detain will.
I think so, too. Yeah.
First of all, in the Dungeons & Dragons Ravnica book, there is some art of one of the Lavinia that people think is Lavinia, who had Detain on her. She was a legendary creature from the Return to Ravnica block.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So that's some good cross-promotion going on. It can deal with aggro, and it's Detain a permanent. Can't activate abilities. Like, maybe a Teferi can't be activated.
Seems interesting.
Well, that's the Azorius. So maybe
maybe
a Nebraska.
You're Azorius, like Azorius.
Yeah.
Disliking Azorius.
Yeah. So maybe you detain a planeswalker like a Nebraska, or Dovin Bond probably going to show up again, or whatever Rakdos gets.
I love how everyone is very convinced that Dovin Bond is coming back. Once the Hollow Fountain arc got spoiled, everyone was like, Dovin Bond's coming back.
Well, I haven't been following this story as close as I should have been recently, but isn't he now Bolas aligned?
Yes, to my knowledge, I think he is. Yeah.
So that means at some point he's going to be there for the fight with the Gatewatch, or maybe not on a card, but story-wise he will be.
Yeah, that seems like. Oh, I'm excited about that. Honestly, that'll be good. I liked Dovin a lot, and people didn't really value him when he was in Kaladesh.
Yeah, he got kind of overshadowed by Baral being a complete jerkwad.
Yeah, exactly. But he was. I liked it a lot. I mean, I know it wasn't the greatest Planeswalker to ever come out, but he did a good job. I thought. I mean, he was kind of more of a Staxy type.
Yeah. It was an interesting card.
Yeah.
Next up, Rakdos, which is red-black. In original, the OG Ravnica, they had Hellbent, which was Hellbent something. So long as you have no cards in hand, something happens. So, for example, Demon's Jester was a creature. It gets +2/+1 as long as you have no cards in hand. This was a Storm Scale 5. It also went on some spells, like Cackling Flames, red and 3. Hellbent, it does 3 damage normally. Hellbent, it deals 5 damage if you have no cards in hand. This is a term that has been used in general, like not even as a mechanic. You're Hellbent when you have no cards in hand.
Right.
Amonkhet had Heckbent with that red god, 1 or fewer cards in hand.
Hazoret the Fervent.
Yeah, Hazoret, that was the one.
I always laugh when people like we'd be playing a very serious game and they'd be like, all right, I'm Heckbent, and so I'm, it's like, all right, cool.
How do you not giggle at Heck?
Right.
Return to Ravnica had Unleash, Storm Scale 4. You may have this creature enter the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it. It can't block as long as it has a +1/+1 counter on it. So a thing to make your creatures bigger, but there's a trade-off there.
I definitely literally just noticed that this would go really well with a lot of the Simic strategies we're seeing too, with +1/+1 counters.
Yeah.
So if you're tossing, if you have that 3-color on that delicious 3-color, that Jund there you're playing, basically having that unleash happen with the Simic counters and being able to, that seems really good. I'm just put that out there, just for what it's worth. I mean,
and this is where one of our leaks came in. That sorcery, which I did not write down.
Leak. Oh, the name is Light the Stage.
Oh yes, that's right. Light the Stage. Exile the top 2 cards of your library until end of your next turn. Your next turn, which is insane.
Yeah.
You can play those cards.
Right.
Then it had a new mechanic on it, Spectacle R. We don't know what that does yet, but my guess is this is going to be a play on Hellbent.
That would be exciting.
Hellbent or Heckbent. Seems like it want to continue that theme, and that's something that Red just does naturally, is not have cards in hand.
I think it's important to mention that the flavor text in this was fantastic. So the card is called Light the Stage, and it depicts what appears to be a Rakdos kind of like. Well, if you're not familiar with Rakdos, Rakdos is like the idea of like torture and like crazy.
A lot of demons and devils torturing.
Yeah, so it's like this kind of like grotesque party going on, and on the that's what kind of is depicted, this stage of creatures, and the it's called Light the Stage, kind of playing on words fire, but the flavor text says everyone to their places. Yeah. So it looks really good. It looks like it's a lot of fun flavor in this set as well.
Now, the leak was in a different language, so that flavor text might change in the English translation.
So that's true. That's true. But something along the lines of,
places please, if it's a theater sort of theme.
Right.
Yeah. I think Unleash has the better chance of returning, but I think it looks like we're getting a new one, Spectacle.
Yeah.
And they probably won't do 2 there.
That's true. That might be true.
Yeah. Next, Simic, which is your blue-green, which fits with the merfolk from Ixalan and some of that. Original Ravnica had Graft. This permanent enters with N +1/+1 counters on it. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, if this permanent has a counter on it, you may move one of those 1/1 counters onto that creature. Storm Scale 8.
Let me tell you why this is not coming back.
Yeah,
let me tell you why. So imagine for a moment you're at FNM, right? And you're playing the player who just bought their first intro pack, or they just bought their first pack, right? And they've made their deck, and they sit down. They will spend 10 minutes looking at this ability and wondering what's going on, and it has the feel of not nice inclusion, like the feel of like I don't know what to do, like
there's a lot of things going on.
Exactly, and there's variables in there with N +1/+1 counters, and if this creature had a counter on it, you can move. It's just. It's too much.
Yeah, and it's like this one got +1 counters on it later. Can those move even though those weren't part of the grapple?
Right.
Yeah. And
I mean, it gives me more job as a judge.
Yeah. Keeps you employed.
But also, yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. This is not coming back. It's a very overly complex. This is one I think people kind of like, and if they reworked it, how they reworked Chroma into Devotion and Theros block, it could come back at some day, just not as Graft.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's definitely something older players do enjoy. It's cool. It's cool ability.
It's cool. I mean, we see it in Commander decks all the time.
Yeah.
They get those things. Return to Ravnica had Evolve, which was Storm Scale 5, so decent chance it can return. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, if that creature has greater power or toughness than this creature, put a 1/1 counter on this creature. And this one is fun. I actually really like this because they have a lot of things that you can do with Evolve. Like when this evolves, more things happen, or this creature can tap for mana for counters based on Evolve. So if they're not making a new one, I could see Evolve coming back because you were talking 1/1 counters is good. And
I could see Evolve maybe coming back. I'm just kind of confused why they made Pelt Collector, and didn't put Evolve on it. Instead, they decided to make it with the. I mean, I actually like it more honestly with the whole because when a creature enters or dies, so that's kind of a big deal. But I feel like they would just stick Evolve on there instead of, you know what I mean?
Fair point.
I don't know.
They don't want to have quasi-Evolve in the first set and then bring in Evolve.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
That's a good point. I haven't thought about that.
I don't know.
So I'm going to bet it gets a new mechanic then based on that.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
Perhaps.
Orzhov.
I love Orzhov.
Oh, black-white.
Yep, I love Orzhov.
The original Ravnica block had Haunt.
Mm-hmm.
Storm Scale 9, I'm going to tell you right now, it's not a good mechanic.
Yeah.
It is.
Well, it's just, there's a lot of words again.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of words.
When this creature dies, exile haunting target creature.
Exile it.
Yeah. Not a lot of words there, but you never know what it does. For example, there's a creature, Blind Hunter. When Blind Hunter enters the battlefield or the creature it haunt dies, target player loses 2 life and you gain 2 life.
There's a lot of things to remember here that make it a bad ability.
Yeah, it's a lot of memory issues. There's a lot of what does that actually mean? Right. It haunts the thing, so you exile it attached to this creature, kind of.
Yeah, and believe it or not, Wizards they don't make cards to confuse players.
Right.
So they're trying to avoid this ambiguity that happens. Clearly we don't as judges we don't like giving out failure to maintain game state / miss triggers. Like if we see something that's wrong, we have to. It's our job to make it right. But it's confusing.
I don't know if you followed the recent great designer search that they just had this past
I have not.
Spring, summer. One of the designers made a new haunt that was a lot better than this. And so I think it's another one of those that they could potentially fix. It's still kind of confusing.
Yeah.
And it was kind of fun watching, we all know you messed up this mechanic. So here, I'm going to try to fix it. So it's fun to watch. That you should check that great designer search out.
Yeah.
Return to Ravnica had Extort. Did I put? Oh, Storm Scale 6. Whenever you cast a spell, you may pay white or black. If you do, each opponent loses 1 life, and you gain that much life. This one I found really surprising when I was researching this because it's very popular, but Wizards doesn't like it for development reasons, mostly multiplayer. Because for one, you drain 3.
Yeah.
So it adds up when you have a lot of extort cards, and it's hard to balance costs on the original card. Like if you have, I don't even have the one creature that's the guy sitting on the throne.
Tithe Drinker.
Yeah, all your things gain extort.
Oh, that's a different card.
Yeah.
That's such a good card. And Commander, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That owns people.
Oh yeah. I mean, so it's a very popular mechanic. They just have a hard time balancing.
Right.
Because extort is always just white or black. You pay that 1 to do this draining.
Right.
And that adds up quickly, especially if you've got a 2-drop, a 1-drop.
Oh yeah. Are you serious? Yeah, totally.
Extort. And if you have multiple things that have extort on them, all of a sudden.
It's kind of like level up. Like late game, level up is great because you're just like, well, I have all this mana.
Sing.
Right, exactly.
Gruul, the red-green guild.
Mm-hmm.
In original Ravnica, they had Bloodthirst N. If an opponent was dealt damage this turn, this permanent enters the battlefield with N+1/+1 counters on it. Storm Scale 3.
I like this one.
That's a pretty straightforward one.
I like this one.
And it encourages attacking, which Wizards likes to do. That's why they have focused on creatures a lot. And
I love that fair beats.
Yeah, got to do want people turning things sideways and going to the face. Return to Ravnica block, Blood Rush, Storm Scale 6. This allows a player to discard creature cards in order to give an attacking creature temporary toughness and power and toughness boost equal to the power and toughness of the discarded creature card. Whoa.
Yep.
That one's Storm Scale 6. That one is just, again, memory issues, and they found out people don't like throwing away their creature cards.
I mean, that's fair.
I actually think Bloodthirst That's a pretty solid
I like
one.
Bloodthirst a lot.
I don't know if it'll come back, but of those two, Bloodthirst is pretty straightforward, easy to grok.
Right. Yeah, definitely. And we actually now have a couple of yesterday I looked up, there's a couple of leaks that were of Ravnica Allegiance cards that got leaked out. So and they are, I think they're the store championship or they're the store promos.
Yeah, they're promos for something.
Yeah. So the ones that were already leaked, we have Mortify, which is the 1 white black destroy target creature, or is it exile? Exile target creature or enchantment.
Destroy target creature or enchantment.
Yeah. So there's that. That's back. That's a pretty good removal. It's instant
solid
speed.
removal.
Pretty solid.
Instant
for
is
stuff.
huge. Yeah.
Yeah. Big deal. New card coming out. It's an enchantment. It's called Simic Ascendancy. So it's an enchantment. You pay 1 a blue and a black to put a +1/+1 counter on a target creature you control.
Blue and a green.
Oh, sorry, my bad. I'm sorry. Oh, I wrote it wrong. It's one blue and green to put a +1/+1 counter on a target creature you control, and then whenever 1 or more +1/+1 counters are put on a creature you control, put that many growth counters on Simic Ascendancy. At the beginning of your upkeep, if Simic Ascendancy has 20 or more growth counters on it, you win the game. So I'm seeing a humongous dip into blue in perhaps even hardened scales.
Yeah.
Because this costs, what did I say? This costs two?
2 and then 3 to activate.
Right. So this is a big deal. I mean, imagine having hardened scales on the battlefield.
Yeah.
And I mean, imagine having things like Doubling season, or even, because when you're paying for Ballista, let's say you play a Ballista, right, in Hardened Scales in Modern. You're playing that, and Hardened Scales gives it another counter when it enters. So you're having a lot of counters. Then you decide to, pay to give it 1 counter. That gives it 2 counters. So this is just spiraling. And Arcbound Ravager 2 being able to sack and put all the counters on, that's a big deal as well. I mean, that's almost the instant win. So this is really interesting, and it's going to see play in Commander and Modern, I think.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to play this in Commander.
Yeah,
definitely.
I
like blue and green. I have some Merfolk deck, but I might change this because I missed that last line at the beginning of your upkeep. If this has 20 or more growth counters on it, you win the game.
Yeah, it feels good. Feels all right.
I'm going to try that. Probably, when I win that once, I'll probably take apart the deck.
Yep.
Just to say I did it.
You win the game, things Wizards likes as well.
Yeah, they like those alternate win
It's
cons.
a very fun thing.
Another Simic one.
Yep.
Growth Spiral, instant draw a card. You may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield.
It costs green. Yeah, it costs green blue.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It's an instant speed, so it's kind of cool. Like you can pay the 2, play a land. Like I see, like I'm seeing the Simic here, and like be able to be like, all right, cool, end step. Your end step. I'm gonna play this, draw a card, play a blue land. Opt exactly, and then look, more filtering, more. It seems good. I mean,
that's
a
good card.
Yeah,
I like that one.
I think it's kind of flying under the radar right now. But I think folks like it a lot.
Did that have a rarity on it?
I think it was uncommon. I'm pretty sure.
I can't tell.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was uncommon. We already talked about Light Up the Stage, but we do have a couple more. The Haunt of Hightower. Is a legendary creature, vampire. It's a 3/3. It costs 4 black, so it's 6 mana. It has flying and lifelink, so it's a vampire, flying, lifelink. Whenever the Haunt of Hightower attacks, defending player discards a card. Whenever a card is put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, put a +1/+1 counter on the Haunt of Hightower. Last night I was editing this document, and I saw Adam. We have a shared Google Drive, and I saw Adam editing, and he said, Haunt of Hightower. Hello, Mill friend.
Yes, Bill, you should get this card for your deck. Also, I will be getting this for all my Nekuzar decks.
This seems good, yeah. So yeah, Mill obviously is the immediate strategy here, but I think that also there's something to be said for even a mono black control. This might be able to see play. I mean, when you're running that much removal, being able to kill things quick is good, and imagine sweepers here as well. I mean, sweepers just pump your creature incessantly. So. Yeah, what do you think, Adam?
I think this fits well with your late game duresses. Like they don't have much, but duress, Thoughtseize probably not gonna see modern play, but just as another example of that sort of effect.
And I mean, ultimately, things are good when you get more than one thing for them. Right. Meaning, like if I'm casting a spell, I'm getting if I'm casting a duress, for example, I'm getting the opponent's card and I'm getting a counter on my creature. That's 2 things for the price of 1.
Yeah.
But it's not bad.
Yeah. And the last one, Rakdos Firewheeler, red, black, creature human rogue. When Rakdos Firewheeler enters the battlefield, it deals 2 damage to target opponent and 2 damage up to 1 target creature or planeswalker. I mean, that's pretty good. I mean, this is a cycle. These XXYY mana cost.
Yeah.
We have Crackling Drake and
Yep.
that sort of thing. So they're continuing that cycle. That's pretty cool. 2 damage to an opponent and 2 damage to a planeswalker or creature.
I'm seeing this be like a huge limited bomb, or not bomb, but a huge limited card.
Yeah.
It'll do well in limited. But I mean, outside of limited,
I actually could see this if there is a Rakdos style deck. That's great value. 2 to the face, kill a creature or hit a planeswalker on enter the battlefield. That's pretty good. 4/3 body for 4.
Yeah, I think it's not bad. I just don't see it seeing huge play, but maybe it will. We'll see.
Oh, I guess Rakdos isn't really strong right now, so it depends on what we got coming out.
Yeah, very true.
That's
very
my
true.
thoughts on that. Now to shift gears a little bit.
I see what you did there. Shift gears.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on TitanShift?
TitanShift. Well, so first of all, if you're not familiar, TitanShift is a competitive modern deck. I think it's verging on tier 2, almost tier 1 right now, if not tier 1.
Yeah, I guess it depends on the meta at that time, because it's been number 1 a few times.
It definitely has. So it's a modern deck with a consistent-ish turn 4, turn 5 win. It's fairly linear. It does a little in the way of caring what the opponent does. Its win condition is a card known as Valakut the Molten Pinnacle. And the land has a lot of text. It was printed a little while ago. A lot of text there, but basically what it does, it deals 3 damage to. It's a land. It deals 3 damage to any target whenever a mountain enters the battlefield, as long as you control 5 mountains. So yeah, bolt when a mountain enters, kind of thing.
And it's not legendary.
Yeah,
it's not legendary. That's
which is a big
mistake,
deal. Big deal. Yeah, I mean, anytime something has a name like Valakut the Molten Pinnacle, it sounds like it should be legendary. You know what I mean? Like
Adam the podcaster. That's a legendary creature right there.
It has its own name. Yeah, its proper name. So yeah, the deck runs little to no interaction, main board. Some lists use their flex spot as a sweeper and others as grave hate. We'll talk more about what a flex spot means in a second here. But today we're looking at a deck piloted by Ryan Kaiser to a first place finish at SCG Modern IQ Lexington. So like I said, we're talking about flex spots. This term is kind of used when we're speaking about a very popular or common deck within a meta, and the flex spot is it's the area where the deck creator can move things around to make their personal preference. So for example, in humans, one of the biggest archetypes in modern, a person plays 4 Champions of the Parish. That's the 1 mana 1/1 that says whenever a human enters the battlefield, put a counter on it. You're playing 4 of these. Yeah. Like that's it. Like that's like your mom saying, "Eat your Brussels sprouts." Like right. And it's even more like, "Eat your candy." Like this is a great card, and you're playing 4 of them because it's essential.
Or your collected companies. You're not taking those
exactly.
out.
You're playing 4 of those. However, the mix of militia buglers, for example, and reflector mages, like some guys play 4 of one and 2 of the other. Some guys play 3 and 1. Some guys play, that is the flex spot. That is where you're deciding, hey, since Dredge is so good right now, I'm going to take out one of my buglers and toss in 1 Relic of Progenitus, right? So that's kind of where you can move around and things that are a little more liquid. So starting up with this TitanShift look here, we'll start with the creature suite. There's a few creatures. There's not many creatures in this deck, usually. So first up is our friend Sakura Tribe Elder, but most folks know him as Steve.
Hey, Steve.
Good old Steve. He is a snake shaman. He is a little buddy with the most value. He is a 2 mana 1/1 with an ability that says, sacrifice Steve, search your library for a basic land card and put it on the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle your library. So Steve is kind of that 1/1 blocker in a pinch if you need him. He's there for you. He's got his snake staff, and he'll go to war for you. But more frequently, he is kind of just good value in land searching at instant speed. Being able to even block, like let's say that they have a turn to something big, and you can block with Steve, and then sack him, at 4 damage
against humans, and they said
exactly
Thalias at you.
Yep.
Don't block and sack.
Yep. And this deck plays 4 of Steve. He's never really a bad draw. I mean, in the late game, he just kind of you play him because all the mana on you sack.
And I love these type of cards. He's a common, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And there's just a ton of value there for 2 mana. You get that body that can block, save you some damage, and then land.
You know what was printed first, Adam?
What?
It was printed in Kamigawa.
Oh, God. Should have known.
So next up on the list is Wood Elves. Wood Elves is a 3 mana 1/1 creature that does almost the same thing as Steve. His ability lets you search out a forest card when it enters. That's the text forest card. So this means that searching out a Cinderglade or a Stomping Grounds, because those lands have a basic land type of forest, is all right as well. So this allows a player to get that last 3 or 6 damage So meaning that like late game, right? You draw Wood Elves and you have 3 Molten Pinnacle Valakuts already on the battlefield. You search out, you draw that Wood Elves, and you can cast it, grab you or whatever, tutor and get that last damage in. Or even searching out, early game. It's never bad to search out for lands. Thinning your deck. There's only 1 in Kaiser's list. This is actually a really big personal preference. A lot of guys will play 4 of these because they like searching out. But it's this is kind of one of his where he uses his flex spots, and we'll talk more about that later on. And last creature is Primeval Titan.
Prime time.
Prime time. He's better known as Prime Time for sure.
Bandit Commander.
Yep. Just too good.
For good, very good reason.
So he's one of the win cons actually. He's a 6 mana 6/6 with whenever Primeval Titan enters the battlefield or attacks, you may search your library for up to 2 you may search your library for 2 land cards, put them on the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle your library. So what I'm imagining is like Mark Rosewater and his team in the office, like, all right, we got this cool creature, and it says, whenever it enters or attacks, you can search for up to 2 land cards. And he was like, no, 2 land cards, no. So he was like, well, what if they enter tapped? Is that okay? And he was like, oh yeah, they can enter tapped. That's fine. Basically, this doesn't affect too much. Being able to, Valakuts tapped still do damage.
Yeah.
So this is great, and also so being able to search out lands every turn and deal a lot of damage. Let's say you search out 2 Valakuts the first turn you have it, and then next turn you search out 2 mountains. That's 12 damage. Yeah. So
you can search out. Yeah, you search out the count.
Yeah.
I think why this is Bandit Commander is because it's land and not basic land.
Exactly.
Because you can get all those big powerful things.
Yeah. So that's a big problem there. Imagine in Commander getting a Dark Depths and a stage,
Thespian stage, or a little Rogue's Passage.
Yeah,
maybe,
exactly.
Or...
So, anyways, this is a big deal. But yeah, that 6/6 is this 6/6 body as well is also a big thing because it allows you to beat in that damage if for some reason you're getting hosed with your land. For some reason you're getting like let's say they have Leyland or the white Leyland that you can't target.
Oh.
So sometimes there it is. Lists run that main board sometimes. So in that situation where you can't kill with Valakut, you have that 6/6 beater that can swing in and deal that 6 damage per turn. It's kind of it's one of the win cons for sure.
Just a big body to have to deal with.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's the creature suite. 3 creatures. Now onto the spell portion. So these are all the instant sorceries, artifacts, and enchantments. Starting off with Summoner's Pact. So Summoner's Pact is an instant that was printed as a cycle of pact spells in Future Sight. Fun trivia fact: all the pact spells that were printed?
Well, are they Kamigawa?
No.
Oh,
he said, "Are they Kamigawa?" No, they're not. They're a Future Sight. I think there's 5 or 6 of them.
There's got to be there's 5 because there's 5 colors, right?
Yeah, there's 5. Yeah, I can't think. Pact and Negation, Slaughter Pact. There's Summoner's Pact. There's Pact of the Titan, which is the red one. And then the white one lets you gain life. I forget what it's called.
Probably bad.
Yeah. Anyway, it is bad. Anyway, so Summoner's Pact costs 0, as do all the packs, and it says, search your library for a green creature card. Reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. At the beginning of your next upkeep, pay 2 green. If you don't, you lose the game. So we're searching out Titan here. There's really no other...
Right.
There's very little other time where you search out anything except for Titan. Because, Steve's nice, but... he can stay in the deck for now.
Right.
So you're searching out, Titan, and paying the mana isn't a big deal. Once you have that Titan, you're all right. Like taking a turn off to have the Titan is all right.
And usually when you're casting this, you are probably going off.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a good chance you're going to go off.
Right. So then you're kind of all right with that. It's a really good spell. Does a good job. Next up is Lightning Bolt. Good old Bolty boy. If you're not tracking what Lightning Bolt does, I need you to go and pause the podcast, go over to gatherer.magic.com and look up Lightning Bolt. It will help you in the future.
If you don't know what Lightning Bolt is, maybe you shouldn't be playing Magic.
Yeah, it seems like a problem. But there are some new players.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You can play Magic. Just go back to something other colors.
Yeah. It's good old. This spell was printed along with Ancestral Recall.
Yeah.
This was during a cycle of 1 mana cards that was
the Boon Cycle.
Yeah, there you go, the Boon Cycle. So this is a great spell. It always has been, always will be. It's good. Spot removal. This is actually, believe it or not, one of the flex spots for this deck. So, like I said before, some decks play 4 Wood Elves, but Kaiser decided to toss his flex spots towards spot removal. So being able to kill some quick. This is probably due to the large increase in like spirits and humans, where killing a lore is a big deal.
Yeah.
So this is actually a really interesting inclusion. I like it a lot. He does a good job. So next up is Explorer. Explorer is actually it's not only the name of an activated ability, it's also, or I should say, an enter the battlefield ability, triggered ability, but it's also a card as well. So this card is called Explorer. It's a 2-mana sorcery that says you may play an additional land this turn, draw a card. This does wonders for Titan. Being able to play another land is a huge deal. Being able to get that 3 or 6 or 9 damage in for 2 mana, really good. And also, you just get to refill. So it's just straight gas. You refill your hand, you go. It's great.
Also, hint that one of the spoilers from this weekend, Growth Spiral, is kind of an Explorer.
Yeah, it is.
It's draw a card, then you can play a land.
Oh,
instant speed.
Look at that. Perhaps they'll dip into blue. No, okay. Farseek. So Farseek is next. This is a commander. A lot of folks play this in commander. It's pretty good. Yeah. Farseek lets you search up anything except for a forest. Any basic land except for a forest. And then you put it into play tapped. It's 2 mana. So it's good. It's what Titan needs, being able to search out and deal damage. Basically, this is like, read this spell as 2 mana, search a land, deal 3 damage to target player. I mean, that's kind of what it's like, because if you have Valakut, that's what it's doing. And it thins the deck as well, so you're drawing more gas, which is a big deal. Anger of the Gods. So Kaiser plays Anger of the Gods here, and this is kind of, again, another flex spot among Titan decks, because he, basically Titan doesn't care about interaction. Titan usually kind of says, like, look, man, like, if you can win by the time that I should be winning, you deserve to win. That's kind of where it's at, because it needs, being able to allocate other spots in your deck for spells that interact takes away from being able to strategize your win. So they care more about getting Titans and winning, right? That's why bolts are kind of a big deal. It's new. Anger is really good because it deals 3 damage to each creature. It's a sorcery. If a creature dealt damage this way would die this turn, exile instead.
Well, and with Arclight Phoenix being the new hotness in Modern, you got to exile that thing before it comes back.
That's a big deal. This is a really, really big deal, and I really enjoy seeing it because it's smart to run this. Even though this is a spot that he could be running more Wood Elves in to get him, strategy further, it's very wise of him to say, look, Anger of the Gods is worth it for being able to wipe all the stuff out. So
yeah, and a lot of the spells in his deck are a lot more expensive than, say, humans.
Right, exactly.
So he's got to take care of those early threats.
Yep. Search for Tomorrow is the next one. So this is a fun hidden edition. Search for Tomorrow is a 3-mana sorcery spell with search your library for a basic land, put it on the battlefield, and then shuffle your library. So it's not tapped. And then it has Suspend 2 for 1 green. A lot of folks ask why this card gets played, because it's like a weird, like, there are probably other good tutor spells for lands. It's a turn 1 play, right? This is a turn 1 play. It's cheap because you can suspend it for 1 green, and then you can get that land later on. I mean, it's kind of like a Rift Bolt.
Yeah.
Because you suspend Rift Bolt. I mean, just like having Valakuts in play, you're gonna get that mountain and deal damage. So it's all right. It's a good spell. I mean, it does well for what it needs to be done. And then finally, well, not finally, but the last win con here, Scape Shift. So Scape Shift is a very straightforward win con. I think it costs, I didn't write down, of course, the mana cost. I think it's like 5 or 6.
I don't remember.
Yeah. But anyways, it's a sorcery, and it says you may sack any number of lands, and then you get to search out any number of lands to put on the battlefield. The same number of lands to put on the battlefield. So if you sack 6 lands, you get 6 lands on the battlefield.
And it's lands again, not basics.
Yeah.
Lands.
So that's pretty good. Being able to search out, basically 3 to 6 to 9 to 12 damage. It's a win con, so that wins games. Kaiser runs 2 Relic of Progenitus' main board. Relic is the 1 or 2 mana artifact that lets you tap to exile a target card, or it's like opponent exiles a card from their graveyard or something like that, and then you can crack it, you can sacrifice it to exile all graveyards,
and draw a card,
which is really good.
Yeah.
This card is like an uncommon now. It's like $4 or $5. It's really, really good.
Good card.
Yeah. But running 2 of them main board really speaks to Dredge and how much its impact. I mean, I think that it's, from what I can think, it's mainly, so it's Dredge and it's Phoenix.
It's Dredge, Phoenix, Snapcaster.
Yeah, Snapcaster is good as well in those Azorius or Jexkai matchups. Yeah, it's good. I mean, running 2 of them is a really good idea, I think. And then finally, it's the last card I'm going to talk about. It's an enchantment called Prismatic Omen. It costs 1 and a green, and it's really interesting. It allows. I should look up what the text says because the text is actually really, really relevant here. But in essence, what it does is it allows all basics to become every basic type.
Oh, yeah.
So it's really, really good. But it's important to read because the wording makes it such that. So it's 1 and a green. It's an enchantment. Lands you control are every basic land type in addition to their other types. So
now you're forests or mountains when they enter.
Exactly. So when your forests enter, they're now mountains are dealing 3 damage. Right. This is a really big deal, and a lot of players miss this because they're not tracking. When something says X you control, it is from the moment that it touches the battlefield. Yep. So that thing is entering as a mountain, right? So this is a big deal. It does really lots of damage, and it's a 1-of. So he can run this hardly any issues, and when he drives, it's kind of like that fun cookie. You know, it's like, oh, look at that, I'm gonna win now. So it's really good. It's really good. I like this deck a lot. I kind of like decks with a little interaction because it's kind of fun to be able to just play my game and then win. But a lot of folks don't like that. So this is the deck for the person who wants to be able to play their deck and win.
No, this is a fun deck to watch because they can do a lot of fun comboing off, and it's fun to watch. I enjoy watching this. I don't know that I could ever pilot it, though.
It's definitely a deck that you need to. It's not as bad as Dredge.
Oh God!
but being able to know how it works is important. And there is another variant I should just mention, called Amulet Titan, and it runs kind of the same strategy, but it plays a card called Amulet of Vigor as well. It's a 1-mana artifact that says whenever a permanent enters the battlefield tapped under your control, untap it. So meaning if something, and so like if a spell says get a land tapped, that land enters untapped with Amulet on the battlefield. So the strategy here is to get lands with search spells that make them tapped, but in essence they're actually not tapped. That way you can have all the mana to do all the things faster. And it's a really interesting strategy that kind of runs the same way. You're still running Titans to win. You're still running, You're still running Scapeshift. Well, some run Scapeshift. Actually, very few do. But anyways, that's another variant there as well.
And that had a banning just a couple years ago with Summer Bloom that said you could play 3 additional lands this turn.
Yep.
And it's still around.
Yep.
After that.
Yeah, definitely. It does a good job. It does. In other news, there are some artists boycotting GPs, or as they're now called, Magic Fests.
Oh, those names are terrible. So Channel Fireball has the exclusive contract with Wizards to run the Magic Fests. And starting before Channel Fireball took over, but probably adding up more recently, artists have been losing a lot of the perks that they receive for going to these events and promoting their art and stuff. They used to have paid flights, hotels, break rooms, free tables, and a bunch of other stuff. Currently, what they get is a smaller table than they previously had, with a very expensive option to upgrade their space, and some artists get hotels. And so they sent a letter to Channel Fireball and Wizards saying, we're not going to be coming to these things anymore because we don't like being considered vendors. As vendors, they got to pay for a lot more stuff, but then they're also being used to advertise these conventions, which they felt is a little unsavory. Like if you go to a convention and they say, who's playing Aquaman, Jason Momoa is there, do you expect that he paid to be there or that they're paying him to be there?
Exactly, right.
And it's a strange setup, and I didn't fully understand all of it. They have to put their name in on a list to even get an invite to come and have their small table, and then they get asked to host classes and seminars. And one artist who joined it recently said he was asked to make paintings to give to the tournament organizer, which wasn't necessarily Channel Fireball in that case. And a lot of these artists felt obligated to do these things because then they won't get their chance to come to these things. Titus Lettner, one of the bigger artists on this list of boycotts, said some events charge for artists for table. These artists are vendors who represent themselves. Some events invite artists, and here the artists represent a brand and provide a service to the community. The current issue is that we are in a model where we pay for a table, yet the majority of the public thinks we are invited to represent Magic, the brand, and we want clarity on this. And I tend to agree with that. Like, I had always thought that, yeah, you're here promoting Magic art, and that is a very big deal in the manner of art, the game we love. And it's just interesting to see this going on. And you have to think about how these artists make money. They're all freelancers.
Right.
So already no paid vacation, no perks of full-time employment.
I think that it's important to note, too, Tim Lunter says here, like, the majority of the public thinks that we're invited and they're there to represent the brand. And really, I think that it may be misstated. The problem isn't that the problem is not what we think, right? That's not the problem here. The problem is that what's actually happening to these artists is really not the way that it should be. Think about for a second if you made burgers. Like, let's say you were an outside company and you made burgers for this restaurant. They wouldn't be the company wouldn't be like, cool, pay us to make burgers for us. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you made us burgers for a long, long time now. We appreciate it, but also pay us money to make burgers. Like, it's weird. You know what I mean? Like, it's backwards.
Yeah. So to come to these things, they have to travel, which takes away their time. They're making money selling their art, and not necessarily Magic art, but other art to other people.
Because they're very talented people. Oh my gosh,
these are great. I mean, imagine what the art used to look like. Not only imagine, go look at what the art used to look like. Look at Stasis,
right,
and then see where it is now. There's some very talented people in this.
And when you go to GPs or Magic Fests, there's like, when GP Minneapolis, when I was judging there, huge tables of tokens that they have hand drawn. I mean, play mats and art, wall art. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Right, and the prints, they got to do all that too.
Yeah.
So they're not getting paid to be at the GP or Magic Fest. So they're doubling down on their loss. They're traveling, taking time away, then losing paid time here. They also then have to print up and make any of those play mats, any of those cards, which costs more. They have to bring their own inventory. And big names like Noah Bradley, he's not on the boycott. I think he's treated well enough that he feels comfortable with some of this or has such a relationship. But he's posted multiple times about barely breaking even going to these things and trying to find the balance on requiring, when you go, you can ask an artist to sign one of your cards. And a lot of times all they ask for is a tip. And Noah has posted, it has worked to his advantage, and the public is saying, hey, if you want this card signed, it's $1. Just have that as a sign on his table saying $1. And he's like, it's worked really better because they don't feel awkward about not doing anything. Or
again, this is almost like when I lived with a friend of mine for a long time, and like wasn't living at my house anymore. We had this weird thing where it was like, he wants me to do chores, but I don't know how to help out with chores. I don't know what to do. Yeah. So then there's this weird expectation that we both had of each other, but we weren't setting out. So then we both were disappointed. You know what I mean? So it's like when you set that expectation, it just works better for everybody involved, and no one has a problem with that. Right. You know?
So he's posted multiple times about how he didn't charge anything initially, just relied on tips, and that was not working well. Yeah. And it was miserable for him. And then he figured out, it was $1. And well, that worked okay, but it was still, I did not break even. And now I don't know what he's up to, but he's like, and now I found my good balance. Other artists are still having the issue of, I have to bring too much inventory and all this stuff, and so they don't necessarily break even. And it's not the exposure for them, because all they're getting to show off is their Magic art usually, and that's what people want to see them there for. They don't get to show off their other works.
So how do we fix this, Adam? What do we do? I mean, what's the course of action here?
Have a better response than Channel Fireball, which was, we'll watch your table while you take a lunch break.
Yeah,
that was a pretty bad response, and I don't know what the answer is here, because per the next response by Channel Fireball was, well, we lost money this year, and this was their first full year as the monopoly on these Magic Fest. And my thought is, well, Channel Fireball Magic Fest people lost money. Channel Fireball.
Right.
These are technically separate corporate entities, which, that's all illegal fiction.
Of course.
And just shuffling money and people around.
Yep.
So Channel Fireball events lost money. Whoopee-doo. Channel Fireball itself making tons of money.
selling singles,
selling merch, boosters, tying in. They got those mythic editions and stuff.
Right.
They're not losing money. They could have shuffled some of this around, and I don't think that they should necessarily pay the artists, but maybe treat them a little bit better.
If nothing else, just like letting artists bid for, not even money necessarily. Just bid for, meaning, hey, I would like this spot at this GP. Yeah. And then saying, cool, you get the spot. We're not charging you. You have this much space to have a table there. Just to sell. I mean, there's got to be something to be said for this artist's investment into the Magic the Gathering community and their time to make art. I mean, they've taken the time to. Yes, they're getting paid by Wizards to make art, but also they made this art, and it's for them to be able to show it off and be able to, it's only helping Channel Fireball.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. And Wizards and us, and
when somebody sees that Seb McKinnon is going to be at an event, they're like, oh man, like I'm going to definitely be going to that event. You know what I mean? Like it's a big deal.
If Noah Bradley showed up or not, I think he might have been at one I went to, but like Therese Nelson, I'm going to that one. I don't care. I want to
be there too, and that's just advertising for Channel Fireball, so it's helping them. It doesn't need more money from the artist. You know what I mean?
The other side of some of this is prior older GPs, they didn't have as many artists, and now at some GPs, Magic Fest, you'll see up to 20 artists, and it makes sense that they can't afford to have flights and hotels for 20 artists.
Definitely. But having them, either having some way of saying, like, hey, you are allowed to go to, 5 GPs a year as an artist. And for those 5 GPs, I don't know the number, maybe 5 is too big. But using 5 as an example, for these 5 GPs, you will be covered. And you will have, your airfare and your hotels. Past that, feel free to come, but you will be forced to pay. That would be a big deal, and that would help out artists. You know what I mean?
I think there's a little balancing that can be done here, and I don't know the answer personally because I don't have access to all of the numbers. It's just an interesting little tidbit going on that is going to impact our game in some fashion.
Definitely.
In other quasi-serious news, there was a big esports investment announcement by Wizards, and I'm not being facetious or any of this.
So wait, what's an esport?
It is, you emailed the sports team. No, it's
Roger.
Yeah, it's electronic sports like StarCraft and and what's our competitive game that I now have forgotten, the one by Blizzard. God, what am I doing? Hearthstone. God, I'm good at this game. I'm so good at podcasting. Yeah. So with Arena, they have a better entry into the electronic gaming space than Magic Online, and they have decided to invest $10 million over the course of 2019.
You said 10 million?
10 million. That's a lot of zeros.
$1 million.
Yeah, across digital and tabletop prize pools. Whew. And quick note, they are now calling Paper Magic tabletop, which it is.
I mean, fair.
Why not?
It sounds like we're playing D&D, but no big deal.
Yeah. It's a huge expansion on the money pool, and we don't know the breakdown on how this is, but that $10 million is going to be split across all the Magic Fest, another side note, they're no longer Pro Tours, they're Mythic Championships.
Wow.
Side note to the side note, can we talk about how terrible they are at naming these things?
This is absolutely horrendous, Adam.
Like Magic Fest, why not Magic the Gathering, Minnesota? Magic the Gathering, Milwaukee.
Yeah, it'd be great.
On brand.
Yeah, it would be on
Give
brand.
Me money, Wizards.
Hire me now.
Magic Fest to Mythic Championships.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. But so that 10 million split across Magic Fest, Mythic Championships, and whatever they're going to be doing on Arena, because they are going to start having tournaments on Arena
for money. Yes.
They're starting by using 10% on that. On one event, there will be a special $1 million Magic Arena Mythic Invitational at PAX East in Boston at the end of March.
This is going to be a big deal.
Yeah. So they are really. Yeah. I think Arena has been a bigger hit than they anticipated, and they're kind of just throwing money at it while it's working. Another note in here is they're creating a Pro League, which is brand new. They're getting rid of all that Platinum Pro, Gold Pro, Bronze Pro stuff.
More simplistic.
A little simplistic. It's the top 32 players get player and streaming contracts that are worth $75,000, which is amazing because it used to be hard to make money as a Magic Pro.
Definitely.
As an example, Paulo Vitor Damadorosa has $458,535 lifetime playing Magic the Gathering. That sounds like a great number. I would love $400,000.
Right.
He can keep the 58 part of that. But then you dig into it. His first pro event was in 2003.
Yeah.
That is about $31K a year. And, some of that's super variable. He'll win a pro tour here. He'll win a couple GPs here.
I mean, 31 is under the national average. I mean, that's...
It ain't going to live my life.
Yeah.
Not with my student loans and stuff. The money came from writing for Channel Fireball or Star City Games, streaming, podcast, wink, wink, Patreon. But now he has stability because he is one of the top 32 pros. He's going to get $75,000.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're going to stop him from continuing to write for, does he work for Channel Fireball?
I think that he does. I think he's freelance.
Is he freelance? I know he does some of the announcing at the Mythic Championships and stuff now. So that's amazing because now there's actual worthwhile money in being a pro. And this was something that happened. Jerry Thompson from Elk River previously not too long ago had a little boycott. He boycotted one of the big events saying, hey, let's start treating pros like pros.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this was in response to that, but it worked.
Yeah, definitely.
What else? Magic Fest. Yeah, we did that. The big thing here, there were no mentions of Magic Online in this announcement. They mentioned digital a couple times. They mentioned Arena a ton of times, but no mention of Magic Online. So I kind of think Magic Online is on its way out. Or will be. Yeah,
I think so. Honestly, I never really got into... I've done all paper. I mean, I did a little Arena now in the beginnings of Arena, but I've not really done MTGO. I mean, the coding is written, a long while ago.
Oh, yeah. And there's a lot of cards that are bugged, and they've known have been bugged. And I've used it some. I haven't used it in a while, because... I don't like it.
Yeah,
I don't like it.
It's not a very nice interface.
No, it's a very old interface.
It looks actually pretty decent for streaming, which is nice.
Yeah.
But so does Arena. I mean, Arena looks fine too.
That's why I think Magic Online is on its way out sooner than people might have anticipated.
Yeah.
Which also is probably not great for Modern, because I don't think that's ever coming to Arena.
Yeah, they're definitely pushing. I mean, honestly, Wizards of Money is in Standard.
Yep.
Right, and that's where they're making their cashola. And, they're making some cashola in Modern as well, and that's not to be discounted. However, they want to push Standard. That's where they're pushing, because, I mean, you got to buy new cards, you got to get the latest and greatest thing, your buddies are playing in the schoolyard, you got to have the coolest cards. That's the way it is. So I definitely agree. I think that Modern is kind of in a scary situation right now. I watched a video by the professor, Tolarian Academy College on YouTube. Great guy. Not sponsored, but follow him if you have the chance. He's a great dude. But he was kind of talking about the prediction because they kind of announced this a Standard Plus. That was, I don't know if you heard about that. They announced Standard Plus is going to be kind of once all the cards rotate, they're going to have this thing called Standard Plus, and no one knows what Standard Plus is going to be. But he kind of went through the reasons why it's not going to be Modern. I mean, there's a lot of, from 8th edition to now, there's a whole heck of a lot of sets.
And that's why Arena is so simple.
Exactly.
So user-friendly is because you don't have some of those
all these interactions. Yeah. Exactly. So there's that. It's not going to be Frontier. Frontier, I mean, it kind of flopped. I mean, it really flopped. It was a bad deal. It's not going to be even a set that has, a few sets to the rear, because there's so many interactions that have to be made. So what he's kind of thinking, what I think is a very interesting prediction, is that it will be just from Ixalan to now will be Standard Plus, and it will continue that way. So once all of the sets, M19 and Dominaria, once it all rotates out, it will be a part of Standard Plus, and we will continue with that trend, and that from there we'll build kind of a new era of Modern, if you will, which I mean, that's a whole different episode we could talk about. But that's kind of what I think is going to happen with this Arena thing, and that will be the end, I think, of MTGO, really. I mean,
and there's a lot to digest in there.
Definitely.
A lot of pros have mentioned that they don't like Modern, and it's for a very Magic Pro reason. It's hard to metagame. There are too many decks.
Definitely.
For the reason that we love watching Modern.
Which is so healthy. It's such a healthy meta,
Yeah, we like watching Modern because, you never know what you're going to see. I mean, you never know what deck's going to win. You never know what you're going to see on camera. But as a pro, and that makes sense from their point of view, that's just too hard to game. It's too hard to get that edge that they like to have.
Well, they're there to make money,
right?
Which is I mean, it's understandable to say, hey, I can't realistically and very consistently make money here.
Right.
I mean, that's a problem. You know, it is a problem. But modern has been and will always be my favorite format.
Yeah. And I haven't watched that Professor video, but it's interesting because I had written a note that Arena will get a Frontier style format, not Frontier.
Right.
That Frontier. The one that they tried, well, somebody tried to push, didn't work, but they will get something like that. I don't know when that cut will be, because we know Kaladesh is on Arena, but Kaladesh had all those bannings and kind of broke standard for a long time.
I don't think Kaladesh is going to come back. I really don't think it'll be there.
I agree. I don't think Kaladesh will be the starting point for this new Frontier Standard Plus. Well, I guess extended. It's basically extended from old school.
Yeah.
I don't know when it would be. Ixalan is an interesting starting point, but it won't catch on for a while because that's just last standard.
Yeah, really.
And Ixalan itself isn't all that exciting.
No.
Another thing that happened in Arena this week, they had announced some huge changes to rewards. There were big cuts, and the response was immediately Vin Diesel, The Rock, Fast and Furious. Nobody liked it.
Yeah.
It was unpopular by people that were invested in it, the pro scenes, the streamers, like, this is bad for everybody. And the response was immediate. Oh, yeah, we're not... Update delayed to address player concerns. The end.
Hey,
that was the end of their message. And addressing player concerns, that's ambiguous. Is it they're going to change their reward system, or is they going to try to send us some propaganda? No, it's good for you that these rewards are this bad. Who knows?
Who knows with Wizards? To wrap up our podcast today, we're trying something a little bit of a new section here called the Value Train.
That was not me.
That was totally me. I own the train whistle. I actually do own this train whistle, I promise. Yeah, fair enough. So I will be picking out a couple different cards that I think you should be buying a playset of. I think you should be buying a playset of these cards because they're going to spike in value. So this is kind of our cool predictions portion here.
Hashtag MTG Finance.
Right. We are not finance pros by any means.
Oh, no.
But I kind of want to try my hand at it and see what you guys think about my prediction. So first up on my list is kind of a stretch for me is Path of Discovery. So Path of Discovery is the 4-mana enchantment that says whenever a creature enters the battlefield, it explores. It's green.
I hate that card.
It doesn't see a whole lot of play right now. I think it sees a little tiny bit of play sometimes in
Golgari.
Thank you.
I've seen it a few times. I hate that card.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I want to play it though.
So with the new Simic cards coming out from Ravnica Allegiance, it seems clear that +1/+1 decks are going to be a thing. Counters, because that's what Simic likes to do. It likes to grow things, and I think counters are going to be a big deal. Unleash perhaps coming back. So this enchantment's easily able to cast on turn 3 most of the times, if not turn 2, depending on how fast you are. Exploring is a really, really good way to filter. I mean, being able to take lands and draw cards, it feels nice. Yeah. And not to mention, it feels like you're drawing cards every time, which is it's the best feeling.
I mean,
drawing cards is the right thing to do. Right now, foils are at about like $150, $150, which is like the same price as non-foils. So go pick up a playset of foils. It's super cheap, and you'll probably be happy you did it.
If you don't sell them, you have them for Commander.
Exactly, and they're great at Commander too. So next prediction is dudes that do counters. That was what I wrote. Dudes that do counters.
Such a technical term.
Maybe they might be dudettes. Who knows? Daylight Ranger and Pelt Collector type. So Daylight Ranger is awesome. It already is awesome in decks that just do mid-range, but decks that revolve around putting counters on things, removing counters, it's awesome, right? Getting 2 possible counters placed on this is great. Not to mention filtering twice for 1 body. It's worth it. Ranger is actually currently on a decline. It's about $10 right now, which sounds like a lot, but it's gonna hop up again once the new set is released, because this is really good in not only counter decks, like I said before, but mid-range strategies. It's really great. Pick up at least 1 or 2 of these because you'll be happy you did so.
And Golgari is really hot right now.
It is really hot right now. So also Pelt Collector, that 1 mana 1/1 that when something enters or dies with higher power or toughness or higher power, you get a counter on it. This is really good. It's super duper cheap right now. Pick it up as well because this is also going to see play, I think, in maybe fringy times in Modern too, because its counters are always good. Counters getting added. It's a 1-drop. It just feels nice. Next one I have. So the many financial advisors of the MTG community are saying that vampires are going to be back.
With Orzhov.
With Orzhov, yeah. So I definitely agree with this prediction, and I think that a few cards are sticking out here. Legion Lieutenant is a complete all-star. It's a 2/2 for 2. It's that white-black for it's a 2/2 creature, and it's a Lord. It gives all vamps +1/+1. This card is less than 50 cents right now.
It's an uncommon, isn't it?
It is an uncommon. Less than 50 cents. Foils are just cresting $1. Pick up at least 4 of these. These are great. These are going to see a lot of play, and even Adanto Vanguard.
That's a powerhouse.
Which is such a powerhouse. It's kind of the hidden gem of aggro decks. This dude is this uncommon boy who gets +2/+0 when he's attacking. It's almost $1. It's almost $1, and foils are about 150. This is another great inclusion. It's gonna see play in standard continually, so you're not investing for. It's not a bad investment either way. If it jumps when vampires come out, you won.
Well, vampires, especially like if Extort comes back. It's a popular mechanic.
Seriously, paying life. Yeah, it's gonna be good.
Gaining life.
And gaining life. Look at that. And then number 4, this is kind of my risky recommendation. Well, it's not risky. It's kind of my stretch of a recommendation. It's Crafty Cut Purse. Crafty Cut Purse is a 4-mana 2/2 with flash, and it says, when Crafty Cut Purse enters the battlefield, each token that will be created under the opponent's control this turn is created under your control instead. So the deck currently taking, at the time of this recording, 8.18% of the standard meta is Selesnya tokens. So that by itself is a great reason to run this. It's a 2/2 pirate guy. I mean, it's not great, but its ability is what makes it good. So Selesnya tokens makes tokens. Imagine being able to flash in this
March of the Multitudes
exactly.
for 10. Oh no, these are mine.
These are my tokens, exactly. So
love it.
Vampire decks, they make tokens. Merfolks, they make the 1/1 hexproof tokens. With a card like Divine Visitation in this format, this card is just too cheap to overlook, right? Foils, both pre-release and non-pre-release, are just above 50 cents. It's not even very risky because let's say you spend 50 cents on this and you don't ever use it, you spend 50 cents.
Yeah.
Like,
or if you got a place that you spend $2.
Really.
Sorry you didn't buy your lottery tickets today.
Exactly. This is gonna get there, I think. And even if it doesn't, imagine playing this as a 1-of in Commander, just for the heck of it. It'd be fun. It'd be a good time.
Could you play it as anything other than a 1-of in Commander?
I mean, no.
Okay.
Fair enough. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely gonna see some fun times, I think, and pick them up while you can. That concludes our super serious topics for today. We greatly appreciate you all listening, and we'll be back in about 2 weeks to attempt another not-so-serious discussion in Magic-related topics. In the meantime, you can send us questions at Facebook, Twitter, and at notsoserious@gmail.com. We are always looking for new content for the show. Send your recommendations, and be sure to subscribe in your favorite podcast app. Leave us that 5-star review anywhere you'd like. From Adam and I, thanks again.
Thanks for listening.